In Australia, the term luxury car has shifted in meaning as dramatically as our skylines and tax brackets, where once we believed plush cloth seats, chrome accents, and a whispering V8 made a vehicle regal, today's standards demand something more, something global, something unmistakable. Luxury now is a convergence of silence, status, and sensation. But what is luxury, truly? Luxury in motoring transcends price tags. It is not merely a matter of how expensive a car is, but how it makes you feel. It is the seamless integration of technology and tradition, the bespoke craftsmanship of leather and wood, the way a door closes with the sound of engineering perfection rather than brute force. It is convenience disguised as elegance, adaptive suspension that reads the road, climate control that memorizes your settings, and ambient lighting that adjusts to your mood. Luxury seduces the senses but never overwhelms. It whispers, never shouts. It does not need to accelerate from 0 to 100 in 3 seconds, although it often can. What it must do is cocoon, indulge, and elevate. This is the story of Australia's journey through the world of automotive luxury, from the long wheelbase Fairlanes and Statesmans of yesteryear to today's rolling works of art from Goodwood and Crew. We explore the 10 most prestigious luxury vehicles gracing our roads and the roads that led us here. Before Rolls-Royce had showrooms in Sydney and Bentley appeared in Brighton garages, Australians had their own idea of luxury. It was built locally. It looked stately in metallic paint, and it was often driven by the managing director, the local mayor, or the father of the bride. The 1970s and 80s brought us machines like the Ford Fairlane, Holden Statesman, and Chrysler by Chrysler. Long, softly sprung sedans with lazy V8s, vinyl roofs, and acres of plush interior real estate. These cars weren't about speed or cornering finesse. They were about arriving. A Fairlane gear in champagne gold said as much about your position as any imported Mercedes could. It was luxury with a distinctly Australian flavour, no nonsense, comfortable, and understatedly proud. Velour interiors were considered indulgent, and an in-dash cassette player was peak tech. These vehicles featured separate climate zones, manually adjusted of course, padded steering wheels, and long wheelbase rear seats, roomy enough to cross legs in. The Holden Statesman Caprice, especially in its VQ and WH series, became the choice of the elite, or those who fancied themselves as such. Chauffeurs, politicians, and television presenters all knew its slab-sided comfort and elegant anonymity. Luxury then was less about global benchmarks and more about local accomplishment. And for a generation of Australians, nothing looked more important than a Fairlane at a red light. As the 1990s arrived, so too did a wave of European prestige. Mercedes-Benz and BMW, once rarefied imports, began to find favour among Australian buyers with more than success. Buyers with taste. The Mercedes-Benz W126 S-Class, in particular, changed perceptions. No longer were luxury cars just large sedans with big engines. They became rolling sanctuaries of refinement. Australians began to appreciate the artistry in German engineering, the precision, the reliability, the quiet dignity of a silver star on the bonnet. The BMW 7 Series joined the conversation soon after, with its sportier edge and technology-laden cabins. Suddenly, prestige was measured in things like electronically adjustable rear headrests and fax machines mounted in centre consoles. The cultural shift was immense. A European car signified not only success, but international sophistication. The old money versus new money divide widened. Longtime Fairlane buyers now eyed the S-Class. BMW became the brand of choice for younger executives, while Mercedes retained the boardroom set. It wasn't just about what you drove, it was about what it said about you. And with this, Australia's taste in luxury began to globalise. Luxury became extravagant in the early 2000s. The arrival of Bentley and Rolls-Royce dealerships in major Australian cities signalled something fundamental. Wealth was no longer just quiet, it was unapologetically visible. The Bentley Continental GT was the first to break the mould. Sleek, powerful, and aggressively styled, it marked Bentley's rebirth under Volkswagen's ownership. It was also, crucially, the first $400,000 car you might actually see outside a nightclub. No longer did Rolls-Royce and Bentley belong solely to embassies and monarchs. They now sat beside beachfront properties and private golf clubs. Rolls-Royce, reinvigorated under BMW, released the Phantom, an automotive cathedral that exuded timeless class. Later came the Ghost, slightly smaller, slightly more drivable, and perhaps more suited to Australian streets, if not our temperament. Australia, once culturally reserved about ostentation, began to lean in. Business tycoons, media moguls, and even mining upstarts no longer hid their fortunes. They polished them, detailed them, and parked them prominently outside the Crown Metropole. The sight of a flying spur or a phantom rolling down St Kilda Road stopped pedestrians. Luxury had officially gone from implied to declared. Some brands arrived with more noise than success. Maybach, resurrected by Mercedes-Benz, attempted to compete with Rolls-Royce but never quite caught on. Its first models, the 57 and 62, were too anonymous, too expensive, and ultimately too misunderstood. Maserati, however, took a different route. The Quattroporte blended Italian flair with executive presence. It wasn't as smooth or quiet as a Mercedes, nor as tech-laden as a BMW, but it had something the others lacked: character. Exotic marques like Aston Martin briefly flirted with the idea of a luxury sedan, while Jaguar, ever the aristocrat's choice, held on to a shrinking but loyal clientele. Australia never fully embraced these fringe luxury players, preferring the solidity of German reliability or the grandeur of British opulence. But they deserve their mention, if only for trying to reinvent the idea of luxury as something sensual and emotional. A decade ago, the idea of a $600,000 four-wheel drive might have seemed absurd. Today, it's reality. The Bentley Bentayga, Rolls-Royce Cullinan, and Range Rover S Autobiography represent a new era: luxury with ground clearance. Australians love SUVs, practicality, presence, and visibility, and luxury manufacturers noticed. These vehicles do everything their sedan siblings do, but with a taller stance and more flexible cargo space. They are equally at home in Toorak as they are on the Mornington Peninsula. Interiors feature champagne fridges, reclining rear lounges, starlight headliners, and touchscreen armrests. Even Lamborghini, the brand once known solely for V12 theatrics, entered the luxury SUV game with the Urus, a fire-breathing crossover that looks like a stealth bomber on 22-inch wheels. Wealth, it seems, no longer needed to be chauffeured. It wanted to command the road and bring the dogs along. The Tesla Model S Plaid, Porsche Taycan, Mercedes EQS, and BMW i7 have redefined opulence for the silent generation. Electric vehicles remove the engine noise but add digital elegance. Gesture-controlled infotainment, panoramic augmented reality HUDs, and smart glass. Luxury is now coded in kilowatt hours and charging networks. It's not the roar of a V12 that impresses, it's the quiet surge of 1,000 Newton meters of torque, delivered instantly and silently. Australia's early adoption of Tesla paved the way, but the premium EV market is now growing exponentially. The modern elite no longer need to be heard, they glide. Not all luxury needs to shout from the rooftops. Some of the most discerning buyers prefer it whispered in hushed tones of Japanese craftsmanship and reliability. Lexus, since its inception, has offered a unique take on luxury. Serene cabins, attention to detail, and service experiences that rival private clubs. The LS500H, in particular, presents a Japanese take on the limousine: minimalist, meditative, and magnificently smooth. Genesis, Hyundai's premium brand, has recently made waves with its G90 and GV80 models, offering Bentley-esque finishes at a fraction of the cost. These brands don't chase opulence. They craft serenity. For many, that is the most luxurious experience of all. Here then are the 10 current pinnacles of automotive luxury available in Australia, not just by price, but by presence, craftsmanship, and indulgence. First, Rolls-Royce Phantom. The gold standard, every part bespoke. The only car that feels like it's above the law of motion itself. Price, $1 million plus. Second, Bentley Flying Spur Mulliner. A mobile Grand Salon. Leather stitched by hand, rides like velvet. Price, approximately $600,000. Third, Mercedes Maybach S680. S-Class turned Sultan's Lounge. V12 power reclining massage seats. Price approximately $570,000. Fourth Range Rover SV Autobiography. Off-road capability with first-class comfort, prestige with practicality. Price approximately $350,000. Pieta Rolls-Royce Cullinan. The world's most luxurious SUV, costs its passengers in elevated splendor. Price approximately $700,000. Sixth Bentley Bentayga EWB Azure. First edition. Opulence meets usability. Long wheelbase for rear seat indulgence. Price approximately $500,000. Seventh Porsche Panamera Turbo S E-Hybrid Executive. A performance limousine that can still hit the track. Athletic and indulgent. Price approximately $430,000. 8. BMW 7 Series G70. A tech marvel. Feels like the future. Theatre screens, light shows, vegan leather. Price approximately $350,000. 9. Lexus L S500H Sports Luxury. Japanese elegance with hybrid innovation. Whisper quiet, impeccably finished. Price approximately $210,000. Zehnter Audi A8L Hawk. Understated German luxury with long wheelbase refinement. Price approximately $280,000. Import only or by request. Luxury in the Australian motoring landscape has evolved from a quietly spoken privilege to a bold, global expression. The Fairlanes and Statesmans of our past gave way to Phantoms and Bentaygas, but the spirit of prestige remains. Today, luxury is less about power and more about presence. Less about distance travelled, more about how one travels. In cities, on coastal drives, or tucked inside suburban garages, luxury vehicles no longer just serve their owners. They define them. From local V8s to global EVs, Australia's perception of luxury has matured, diversified, and flourished. We are no longer merely following the world's definition of prestige, we're helping shape it. And yet, for all the carbon fibre, diamond stitching, and twin-turbo performance, perhaps true luxury remains the same. To be comfortable, to be respected, and to be seen, even if only by yourself, in the quiet glide of something extraordinary.